I'm sorry, take two with a microphone this time. Hey everyone, Fina here from Fina Reads. Welcome to my bi-weekly book ramblings and my January wrap-up, which might be a rather short one because I didn't read much in January. I don't know, it's not really a book slump that I'm in right now. I just didn't have much time to read. Usually I read a lot on the weekend and then every night like a chapter or two depending on the book. But somehow I didn't read during the week, so yes. My wrap-up is going to be really quick. Although I have some interesting books to talk about. Let's just get started. Starting with the books that I've already talked about, so I'm not going into detail for those anymore. And that is one, The Green Rider, which is book 1 in the Green Rider series by Kristen Britton. We are doing the read-along, as you might know, as you might have heard on this channel. We're actually going to have our first live show next Saturday, which is February 5th at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you want to join, please do so. We'd love to have you. We will have a spoiler-free section and then a spoiler-filled discussion. Book 2 that I read in January as well is The Long Walk by Stephen King. That's a buddy read with Jake from The Bookish Drummer. And we're continuing with that buddy read of all the Bachman books till, we've read all the Bachman books. And again, as I said, I talked about that already. If you want to join the two of us reading those Bachman books, one every month, that is on Jake's Discord. I'm putting the links down below, so if you want to join, you are more than welcome to do so. That really is everything I read for the first half of January. And then I started The Darkness That Comes Before, and I briefly talked about it in my last book rambling, but that's actually one that I finished since then. The only book that I finished since then. The Darkness That Comes Before is a book that I'm rather torn about. I know it was on my list of the most anticipated reads in 2022, and I thought it would be a 5-star read. Currently, it's not the case. And I think there are many reasons for that. Some that are my fault, some that are just, from a reader perspective, things differently, and some might actually be the book's fault. I don't know. But let's talk about that real quick. First of all, it took me forever to get into the book. The names are ridiculous. They're, in my opinion, unnecessarily complicated, but oh well. If that's what the author likes, okay, I don't think fantasy books need complicated names. And my biggest problem with those complicated names was that, especially at the beginning, I had no idea if the name that he threw at me was a city, a person, or a thing. There's no way to tell. And because he doesn't introduce anything, he just throws you into the story and you have to figure things out, it makes it even more complicated. And then point number 3 is, yes, there's a glossary, but it doesn't really help half of the time in explaining what's happening, what's going on there right now. That was tricky for me. Another thing is the world is really big, and I didn't think it needed it. It actually added more to the confusion because then you had conversations between characters where they were talking about something that happened in the past or about one of the races and what they are known for. But again, nothing is explained. So you're just sitting there and it's like, okay, I guess. I don't know. There are just a lot of things that you just have to roll with and you do not understand. And it's not explained at all, at least not in book 1. Again, I haven't read book 2 and 3 yet, so it might be explained eventually, but it was very weird. The other thing that hindered my enjoyment is from other reviews that I've heard before I started this book what I've heard is that there is a lot of philosophy in there and that the world is interwoven with philosophy and philosophy is used to explain the magic system as an example. I have to say, I'm not an expert in philosophy, not at all. I know who Kant is. I watched The Good Place, and that's the extent of my philosophy and ethics knowledge. So, I might have just missed everything. The only thing that I really saw there was, closer to the end, there was a chapter where one of the main characters kind of jumped back a little bit in time and you learn about something of his past. And something that happened with him at that time was directly related to philosophy, very obviously. And that was the only thing I saw as part of that. So, who knows? Maybe I just have missed it. And then, about halfway through the book, when I was talking with some of the folks who are currently reading this, also as a bigger buddy read, I was talking with them and it's like, hey, this story feels so familiar. There are a lot of things like from Roman and Ottoman Empire and whatnot, that just feel familiar. And one of them said, well, yeah, it's a retelling of the Crusades. I was like, oh, now the plot all of a sudden makes more sense. The moment I knew this is a retelling of the Crusades, everything, or not everything, but a lot of things fell into place. A lot of the races and how they interact with each other fell into place. And all of a sudden the plot made a whole lot of more sense. So I wish I would have known that before, because I think I would have figured out a lot of things way earlier and could have enjoyed the story a lot earlier. From a writing perspective, it is very ambitious. Personally, I don't know that a book like this needs such ambitious writing. If this is something you love, you're definitely going to love this particular series. One thing that, and I don't know if this is me or if it's the author or if it's intentional or not, the writing style changes in the book. And I couldn't figure out if it was, on certain aspects, it felt random. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. It's the same flowery prose and very descriptive prose, but just the way he handles dialogues changed somehow in between the chapters, and that left me confusing because, and I especially noticed it when I was like in a reading sequence and I got used to the prose and I was just reading away on the plot, and all of a sudden I was like, what's happening again? All of a sudden, I ran into one of those changes and I was like, okay, this all of a sudden feels really weird. All of this to say, I will continue the series and I want to read book 2 and just figure out from a plot and character perspective how it continues. And hopefully that big world that he built with all the history and everything, that this will kind of be used eventually and it's not just a mechanism to confuse people in the middle of the dialogue. So that was that. And then I'm still in the middle of that HBR 2022 book. It's interesting. I had another article that I read from there that was actually quite an interesting read. It was about bias in machine learning algorithms and how you can think about avoiding introducing data bias into your algorithm, into your software. So that was quite interesting. And the other book that I'm currently reading is The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden, which is book 2 in the Winter Night trilogy. And I'm about 70, 80 pages in. It's getting better now. I struggled a little bit with the beginning, I have to say, but now I'm back into it. But it changed. So where book 1 was really a fairy tale feeling Russian folklore retelling of Father Frost, this feels more like a typical fantasy story. So now the main character is going out into the world, and so far just the way the story is told feels more just like a regular fantasy story, not like a fairy tale experience anymore. I don't know if that makes sense, but again, I'm only 70 pages in, so there's a bit more to go. I'm hoping to finish it this weekend though. We'll see. Also, this book is part of a read-along over on Evie's channel by She Was Only Evie, and there's going to be a live discussion at 11 a.m. Eastern on February 5th, if I'm not entirely mistaken. So it would be before my Green Rider read-along, so if you're interested, definitely check out Evie's channel and join her during the live and that live conversation, which gets us into what do I want to read next. So far, I'm liking the Winter Night trilogy, so I'm kind of thinking that book 3, which is scheduled as part of Evie's read-along for February, I might do that early on, because I kind of want to know how it continues. I want to finish out a series. And, it's just a great reading experience. It's light enough that my whatever brain currently is dealing with, that it can handle the story. But it's also just a great story. And then also, I want to take care of the 2 other read-alongs because I'm really excited about them. And that is obviously First Rider's Call, which is book 2 in the Green Rider series. And then my next book in the buddy read with Jake we're reading all the Richard Bachman books, right, would be Roadwork. And that is actually one that I haven't read at all before. So I want to make sure that I have time to actually focus on it and enjoy it. So I'm excited. And I think it's one of his favorite books when it comes to definitely Bachman. I don't know if it's generally King, but I know it's his favorite. Well, I think I remember him saying that it is his favorite Bachman book. So I'm excited to experience that now as well. The last thing that I want to cover as part of my January wrap-up is I had my first live show yesterday. well, technically today, but you're watching it tomorrow, so yesterday, where I had Evie, Stephanie, Kate, and Jessie on the channel, and we talked about the Traveling Book Box, just our experience and what we liked about it, which books we were really excited about, and it was my very first live show that I've ever participated in, let alone hosted, and it was so much fun, so I highly recommend to you to go back to watch the recording and let me know what you think. I was just a teensy-weensy bit nervous before, and Kate and Stephanie and Jessie helped me, and Evie, of course, helped me calm down a little bit. And then actually, I think it was a pretty fun live show. I definitely had a lot of fun. It was so great talking with them about the book box, but in general about books and random other things that came up during the conversation. And that's it. Probably one of my quicker wrap-ups, as I said. You know, it's fine. It's not, I might get in 4, hopefully 5 books by the end of January. It's definitely the lowest month in a long, long time. But I had some really good books as part of that read. So that's at least something. At least we're not all duds. So, you know, we take what we get. And with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I see you soon with my next video.